liaisons with Cypress Creek Hospital. This is Carissa, and this is Carlicia. I'm going to do a little housekeeping, and then Carlicia is going to introduce Miss Terry, and then we'll go from there. How's that sound? Woo! All right. There's more food if you want seconds. If you need to take a call, please go out these doors, because if you go in the restroom, everybody's going to hear what you're talking about. It echoes. Silence your cell phones, please, and thank you. And that's it. And Terry's cards are on the back, and she also gave you a sheet. So if you don't have the sheet, raise your hand and we'll get you one. All right, cool. Here's Carlicia.
Okay. Oh,
no, just about her.
So I'm going to introduce Terry. Terry Zeus holds a master's in clinical psychology. She is a licensed professional counselor, also a licensed sex offender treatment provider, and certified anger resolution therapist. Terry has been practicing in the field of psychology for over 25 years. She is the owner and director of Project Kids, a program that provides services to children suffering from various difficulties, including depression, ADHD, abuse, and drug issues. She is also the owner and CEO of Gateway 2 Counseling, an online mental health counseling program for teens and adults. Give a round of applause for Terry.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. So, if you can't hear me, just let me know. I tend to be able to project pretty well. Again, my name is Terry Azu, so thank you guys for having me today. Our topic is going to be, do you know a mass shooter? So, I want to introduce my assistant before I actually get started, Mariah Mills. You can stand up, Mariah, and say hello to everybody. She's actually working with me for the summer. So she's here with me today to help pass out information and things like that. So she's only 13, guys, so she's doing really well, right? So, all right, so we're going to try to move this. So she already introduced me. I have over 25 years of experience in the field. I've seen a lot during the course of my 25 years. I was listening to you guys' conversation as school counselor and used to work for CPS. In our program, Project Kids, we actually work, 90% of our cases come from CPS. So we have close to 200 clients currently in that program. So we have multiple therapists, of course, and we service all over the Houston area. So, but I love hearing y'all's conversation of, you know, going to the homes and going to the schools, and I'm not going to that house, you know, so that I like that. We do a lot of home-based and school-based in the Project Kids program, so we know exactly what you guys are talking about, and people coming to door with marijuana cigarettes on the back of their ear. I heard that. So, all right. So our Gateway to Counseling program, guys, is a new program that we just started. I'm not going to say too much about it, but I do want you to know that we have affordable online mental health counseling, okay? We also now take insurance, Medicaid, Superior, and Better, Cigna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, so we're pretty geared up right now. This is a new program. I was actually asking you about the fact that you guys have the mobile crisis unit. Is it mobile crisis unit that you call it?
Oh, yeah, that's one of the hospitals have mobile assessment teams.
Mobile assessment teams. Yeah. And my question to her is, you know, are you guys doing telehealth yet, right? Because that's the way that we're going. So we started we started Gateway to Counseling, working with adolescents age 15 on up to adults. And it's going really well. We're actually getting referrals now from CPS and so forth. So we're excited about that. All right. So I have on that bottom line, we're bringing peace, joy, love, and light into the lives of millions with online affordable mental health counseling anywhere, anytime. We do say enter our gates into a brighter tomorrow where you are in control. So that's our little slogan there. All right, so let's go right into our topic. I wanted to get a good feeling of who we have in the room so that I will know. We're going live here, guys, on Facebook, so I'm going to stay in this area. Want to get a good feeling of who's in the room and what you guys have experienced. The first one I have here is the Las Vegas shooting in 2017. Anybody remember that particular shooting? Mm-hmm. That was a big one, right? You're at a fun event, you're with your friends, you're with your family, you're with your spouse, you're out to have a good time, and suddenly there's a shooting for some unknown reason, right? Who here are actually therapists, licensed professional counselors, social workers? Just about everybody I think that's almost everybody. Anyone here is a caseworker or social worker? Yeah. Okay. And who else do we have in the room? I didn't see you raise your hand.
Oh, caseworker, social worker.
Caseworker, social worker, sorry. Okay, so good. So are you guys experiencing anything involving mass shootings at all? Anybody had to do any counseling for anyone of that sort? Had a friend, a family member, some neighbor down the street that was involved in any mass shootings? Anybody in this room? No? Okay, that's good. I was asking that question because, this one happened in Vegas. We had the Connecticut, and I put this picture up here, guys, because it's little children, right? I mean, they're supposed to be safe at school. That's what we're taught. And they're having to file out because of something that happened at their school that they weren't even thinking about. I mean, look at the ages of these kids, right? 6, 7 years old. You see the little girl right there? She's crying, right? Doesn't know what's going on because school is supposed to be a safe environment. This was the Santa Fe. Anybody remember Santa Fe 2018, May last year? Just about a year ago. That one, guy, struck home, didn't it? I mean, it was too close, right? You guys are close to the Spring area, and I used to go and see clients over here at Spring High School. And I remember when they started having some difficulties at Spring with a kid bringing a knife. I don't know if y'all remember that a couple of years ago. And the parents were in an uproar and what was going on at Spring High School. And they had several incidents, it seemed, right back to back, didn't they? And then it just seemed to die down, so that was good. But look at this guy. I mean, he is the person who committed the crime of mass shooting over in Santa Fe. This is probably his mugshot. It looks like his mugshot, but I mean, if you look at his face, he doesn't look any different than anybody else. And I titled this presentation today, "Do You Know a Mass Shooter?" I titled it that way because we don't really know. You could be sitting next to one right now, right? We don't know what's quite going on and triggering them sometimes. We do know some things, and we're learning even more. So, and this was another picture from the Santa Fe mass shooting. I read a book just recently called The Tipping Point. Anyone has read that book, The Tipping Point? You know that one? You have? Okay, good. There's a study in there that I found very intriguing. And it talked about how ideas can tip, okay? Whether it's a positive idea or a negative idea. And it gave the story of a village somewhere in the world where there had never been any suicides, right? Not one. And then all of a sudden, a teenager boy, his father comes home, is mad at him, tells him he needs to go and do this and do that. The little boy is upset, teenager boy is upset. And so he leaves home, he does what his father says, he comes back at some point, and he ties a rope to his neck and hangs himself with a note to his father saying, "Are you happy now?" Right? That one event was significant because it started to tip this idea of committing suicide in that village. It had never been done before. All of a sudden, they started seeing more and more. During the course of the next year, there were several, and then it just started to grow. And it was primarily adolescent boys having difficulties with their father or having relationship issues, okay, with a girl. It wasn't because of anything else. It could have been over something very minor. Dad yelled at him because he didn't do something right, whatever. And they will kill themselves. How many people here feel that adolescents learn more from each other than they do from their parents? It's a good majority. Okay. Tell me why you think that. I would like to hear, this is going to be an interactive event. So tell me, why do you think that kids are learning more from their peers than the foundation that their parents are trying to set at home?
I think the transition, when you're a kid, you're trying to, when you're getting to be a teenager, you want to make your own decisions, become more of an adult, even when you're tired of people telling you what to do. And your friends don't look at you like your parents do, or I'm telling you what to do, you need to do this and that, where my friends more accepting, or they're not going to judge me as much about stuff, or tell me that I'm being wrong necessarily, or call me out for things, because they don't have those life experiences that your parents may have. Like your mom and dad would say, hey, I know what you're doing, I've done this before.
Right.
But my 16-year-old friend's going to say like, hey, you want to smoke this? Let's do that. Like, okay, I'll try it with you. Like, because they don't know, they haven't had any consequences of life experience, so it's real easy to be. In all actuality, they end up spending more time with their friends, like either online. Even though when you say, oh, my kid comes home with me every day, he's at school with his friend all day, they cut class, or they're in the car, if they're talking on the phone, they're actually spending way more time with their peers than they're actually spending with their parents. But I work at 8 hours a day. My kids are with this person or that. So that's who they're spending most of their time with. So that's who's going to have the bigger influence.
You're exactly right. I mean, think about the course of a day. You said it perfectly. Get up in the morning, get dressed, hop on the bus, you go off to work, your kid goes to school. They're at school 8 hours with these group of people. And here's another thing that's significant. They're actually interacting with that group of people, right? Compared to they come home from school, they go up to their rooms, they lock themselves in the room, they come out to eat, and that's probably it, right? Especially when they're adolescents. Yes?
The another thing, social media has really made a big significant impact in the teenagers of today, compared to, a few years ago. I think that has a lot to do with, kids listening to more what's out there, social media, and trying to fit in and all these other kind of things.
Social media, guys, is huge. Huge. I mean, I don't know about y'all working in this field, but it scares me. It's scaring me. We were just in LA doing the 2 earthquakes. We didn't feel it, but we were there. And we were at Universal Studio. And we're walking around and we're having a great time. And at some point, I see people just kind of sitting. I know that they're together, but they're sitting. What are they all doing?
Staring at their phones.
They're not talking. They're not interacting. They're not doing anything. They're just on their phones. And I think that our world is going to drastically change because of that. Okay? And I think you're absolutely right. That's why I'm talking about this tipping point. I'm going to come back to it. Go ahead.
A lot of the younger people, my kids and all, they think our times were different. Even though you're telling them that you experienced it, that was the olden days. And when my husband would get on my son, he'd say, I had to walk to school, I had to do this, and my son would say, I don't want to hear another Martin Luther King, I have a dream speech, So it's like, you did that then and now is now, So.
Right. Well, I remember when gas was 25 cents when I had my first little Ford Pinto. I remember those days. I didn't have to walk, but I remember those days. And it is not the same, and it is a different environment, and they are socially connected, which is leading to a lot of mental health problems. Do you guys agree? So we have everything from increased depression, suicide, we have increase in bullying behaviors, right? All because they can bully through cyber, which always confuses me. Like, if you're being bullied by a kid on Instagram, delete them. But they don't, do they? I mean, they look at you like, huh? Delete them? What? Block them? Really? They don't think that way. So in that book, The Tipping Point, what it talks about is that kids were learning how to relate and how to cope, not based on what their parents taught them at home, not based on we therapists saying use these skills and use those skills. They're looking at what they're doing, each other are doing, and then they're copying it. And the social media is making it worse because then they're copying the bad behaviors, and it goes crazy, right? I don't know if you guys remember where, I'll give 2 examples. One, there was all these fights that were being posted on social media, where they would just walk up to somebody for no reason and start fighting them. And I was like, what is going on? I mean, why would you do that? They didn't even know this person maybe, or they knew this person, but this person had done nothing to them, and they just, you see them taking off their earrings and they pounce on them. I happen to work in a couple of different we have contracts with 3 different RTC facilities. One of them is very intense, IPTP kids, so the most severe girls at this facility. And if I can tell you, it don't matter how much therapy they have, how many group sessions they have, we can be in a group talking about how to manage your anger, and they will explode, right? And there was this challenge a while back where they were doing the, I think it's called drop dead, where they come up from behind you and choke you until you pass out and fall down to the ground. That became very popular for a little while. The self-harming behaviors, very popular. The burn thing that they had on the internet, I don't know if it was assault and so forth, you put it in your skin and you burn yourself. We had girls just with huge burns on their body because they were, the idea guys tipped, and they learned from each other how to have fun. To them it was fun. Those the last 2 were fun. To come up from behind someone and choke them to the point that they pass out was fun. Until one girl had to go to the emergency room. And then that helped, they came and stopped it. But what I'm trying to say is that mass shootings, to me, is that tipping point. And it's all related to social media, right? Because they're learning how to handle a situation. Back in our day, someone messed with you, someone did something. We didn't do all that, right? We didn't go to a school with a gun, and try to shoot up people. I mean, it was just unheard of. And then, of course, we have so much legislation that has changed in making guns and weapons so much more available, right? So, 307 mass shootings from January until November 2017, okay? This is where they define a mass shooting as a gunman shoots or kills 4 or more people. 4 or more. Mass shooting is not walking into this room and only getting to 1. You got to get to at least 4 of us, okay? So that's their definition. These are the areas of the states of where they were, with the reds being where they were more significant during the course of this time of 2017. So I went through early this morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I looked up mass shootings for 2018. This is not a very good picture, but I still liked it because it kind of gave you an idea. If you see here, we have a lot more that way, don't we? Like what's going on that way. And nothing going on up here. Like what's going on up there, right? Is it a different lifestyle? Is it a slower pace? Is it more outdoor? You guys are shaking your heads. Is it, that we're outside, engaged with one another, and not just playing video games or on social media?
I just think those places are more densely populated.
Well,
You look at Virginia,
that's true.
Florida, Texas, you see spots in California up there and like
Yes.
Oregon, but like the middle of the country is not as populated, so you're not going to have quite as many. I would say like there's more people. Georgia, I could see those places highlighted. Those are places that are more like high population.
Do you guys agree with that?
And gun control law.
The gun control laws.
Well, I mean, New York, it's got strict gun control laws. That's pretty highlighted on there.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. I just think where there's a lot more people, the more interaction, Just like we had the other day, it was like a road rage incident when somebody shot into a car with a rifle and there was fireworks that went off and stuff like that.
Wow.
Just
Over here.
Yeah, here in Houston, it was on the news where they apparently got into it over at a parking spot at a fireworks. And he shot in the car and they had just bought fireworks and it made the fireworks go off. The kids caught on fire and stuff like that.
It was a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old.
Yeah, so I think with people being in close proximity, people getting annoyed and agitated about little things, parking spots or, getting in arguments about stuff.
And I hear what you're saying, but it didn't used to be that way, right? I mean, you didn't used to get so mad at somebody about a parking spot that you took out a gun and started shooting people.
Would you put that stuff too now where you can conceal carry, people carry guns now, things like that too? And
So it's a combination of things happening,
if you're
right?
carrying it, you plan to use it.
Did anyone do any counseling with the Santa Fe? I meant to ask that question. We had people, I live over in the Sugar Land area, and one of our therapists actually, she used to work for us, but she called me, she said, hey Terry, I'm actually going to be taking a full-time position over in Galveston County to work with the kids at that school. And they hired a lot of therapists just to work with kids at that school during the course of that school year. Did you guys see any results of that down this way? Probably not. Okay. Just so Facebook knows, we're actually on the north side, like in spring. So yeah, I know that there was a lot going on there. They were trying to get them a lot of services for those adolescents. It was just such a traumatic event, right? So that's 2018. And this is where I actually found it, guys. So if anybody ever wanted to go back to that link. This is what I found very interesting. This one they kept us in month order. This is 2018, and these are the shootings that occurred around the United States. Okay? So we had a total mass shootings of 323. 387 people were killed, and over 1,200 people were injured. That was just 2018. So I'll be real interested to see what happens with the numbers. Will it continue to climb, or will it maybe at some point start to go back down as we, well, let me ask you guys, what are we doing to combat mass shootings? Anybody know? I mean, we're going to talk about some things that we can do as therapists, but do we know what our society, what our government is doing, what the community is doing to prevent mass shootings?
Nothing. Thoughts and prayers, remember?
Thoughts and prayers, he said.
That's what they always say, thoughts and prayers. We don't need to talk about gun control, we just need to send thoughts and prayers.
Right. You had your hand up.
Well, I was just thinking about this prior, the point prior. I think it's a combination of things in addition to gun access and our crazy gun laws. But I also think it's accessibility. It's not enough mental health treatment. It's them copying. It's social media that makes things seem more acceptable. It's a political scenario where things are more acceptable. So I think all those things combine to an increase in these things happening. Because they're not happening like this in other parts of the world. I'm sure they've got theirs too, but nothing to the scale of this.
Well, I travel the world, and I can tell you that I've been in places where they don't even have guns. You know, I mean...
And they don't have these issues.
Yeah, they don't. I've been in places where at midnight I'm walking down the street by myself, and everything's safe.
You know where I was doing that? In Cuba.
I was just thinking about Cuba. I was in Cuba at midnight walking through what was like an empty field that was pretty dark. I mean, I walked through it quickly, but we weren't scared like here. Yeah, you're exactly right, Cuba. You had your hand up back here.
Right, when you asked the question, I mentioned to them that our governor finally said in June that he was putting more money into mental health, and he wanted a counselor in every school. Now this is 2019, so you know.
Well, we have counselors in school, don't we?
Not full time. Not full time.
We are social workers replacing the counselors. I know in HISD. I can't speak for them.
I actually am a LPC supervisor, so I supervise other LPCs, and the biggest thing that I hear from them is there are school counselors, but they are limited and restricted on what they can do and how many times they can do it. There tends to be a little bit more leeway in the elementary schools. There's in certain school districts there might be some groups or something like that. Like in Fort Bend, I think they have certain groups to help people with common problems. In middle school, maybe in high school. But on the high school level, school counselors, I don't even know why they're called school counselors. It's very misleading because a lot of them can't do counseling. What are you saying?
Yeah, they do a lot of scheduling.
Academic.
Exactly. Because I've supervised a number of them, and they are very upset that they finally get a chance to maybe work with someone who's gone through something, and they're told, well, you only can see them maybe 2 or 3 times.
But then with their large number of students, it's kind of impossible.
And I think you're right. I think it is very difficult for them to try to give that amount of time. But I'm hoping that we will create some kind of system where kids can get counseling services. I, of course, provide counseling within the school districts. All of our therapists for Project Kids go home-based and school-based. I cannot tell you how much pushback we get. every September I'm like this on edge because I don't know. One school this year might say it's fine for us to come on campus, and the next year they have a change in administration and they decide that we can't come. And what they say to us is, you know, you need to see them after school, or you need to see them away from school, right? That means the parent has to leave work, go to the school, get that kid off to school, be gone for 2-3 hours, okay, to go to a counseling session uptown, downtown, wherever that therapist may be, and then bring them back to school and then go back to work. And you do that every week. I can tell you that I started Project Kids because we had a 35% no-show rate, and it was free. We were giving free counseling. We had kids that were directly across the street from us over in Rosenberg, Terry High School, directly across the street, but the parents had to go to the school, check them out, bring them across the street from us, sit in the lobby, and then bring them back and check them back in. So I try to say to people, when I see them, they're not missing hours of school. They're missing maybe 50 minutes of school, right? A session. And I'm flexible. Put me in the closet if I need to go in the closet to work with a kid. You know, put me wherever I need to go. Put me behind the stage. We'll make it work. But I do understand the school district too, because they're having so many people trying to come in during their time, right? But if I have a kid that's in CPS custody and they've just been taken away from their family and they're having a lot of aggressive behaviors and they're fighting the teachers at age 5, don't you think you need my help? You know, and so that's the argument that I use, and a lot of times I'm able to get pretty far with that. So, but I just thought those numbers were really, really interesting. It looks like July and August, June, July, and August, guys, had the most numbers.
It's hot.
It's hot outside. It's hot, right? And I don't think it's just that it's hot, but you know, you tend to have so many people in one little area, right? You think about SeaWorld and Astro. No, we don't have Astro anymore. Universal Studio and Disney World and places like that. Or you have the parks and you have the outdoor concerts. That's a big one. All these outdoor concerts. You know, I think that for example, the Texans and all those different organizations are trying their best to scan everyone before they go in so that nothing can happen on their facility on their time, right? But I just thought that was also interesting. So June, July, and August. And then we step into 2019. I was curious to see where we are so far. This one is not in order, but so far this year we have 196, okay? So far the biggest month was June, okay? And we're just now into July. So June has already bypassed all the other months. Okay? And I thought it was also interesting that they now have a category that says occurred while at a place of worship. Because we had that, I think it was over by Austin. Was that by Austin that we had that shooting at the church? San Antonio? Okay, yes.
I just want to make a comment, and it's really shocking. You've got almost 200 shootings already this year, and I've probably only heard of a handful. It's really scary. It's getting used to this, and it's not even really making the news. So I appreciate you talking about it, because I had no idea there was that.
I was shocked too. I was shocked to say, wow, already this year, this is what we've had. And I'm not hearing about it as much as I used to. Now, I don't watch the news, but I watch CNN. And if it's something major, it usually shows up on CNN. So I watch CNN for maybe an hour, a few times a week, so that I kind of stay up on what's going on exactly. But I don't watch too much local news. It's just too much for me. I prefer not.
When these things first started happening, 10 years ago, it would be on the news for 2 weeks.
2 weeks, exactly.
Now it's like a day.
It's really shocking.
And guys, I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. I don't know if it might be a good thing that it isn't being broadcast as much, because then maybe other people aren't getting ideas. I don't know if you guys, but sometimes I watch the news and I think, why are you giving me all the details of how to do something so that I can go out and do it? Oh, he created a bomb using this and he went to Walmart and bought that. Really? do you really need to tell me all those details so that now I'm depressed, I'm angry, so I'm going to go out and duplicate what I just saw? Forget YouTube. You know what I mean? I mean, it's already bad that we can go to YouTube and find out anything, right? My nephew, last week, he has a car, it's his first car, and he said, I'm going to change the oil in my car. And I said, do you know what to do? He said, nah, I'll just YouTube it. I said, okay. He did. He changed his oil himself just by watching YouTube. So, a lot of stuff out there for us. All right, people have a greater chance of dying in a mass shooting if they are at school or a place of business. UPS office, right? But I think it's sad that you have a greater chance of being shot and killed at school. Yes.
I just wanted to ask, just especially in schools with those mass shootings, is that recently, because I am a committed news watcher and stuff like that, there's a lot of kids later on after that have occurred, they commit suicide and stuff like that, which is really sad and stuff. And I'm like, to myself, why you come to kill yourself? Because you already, I know, you've gone through some stuff, but I wouldn't want to be in there, place and everything like that. But to take your life and see other people, get killed by, somebody, a shooter or something like that. So I just have, issues with, what's going on with them. I guess, they're still suffering depression or whatever. And my own thing is like, why would you want to kill yourself behind that? Somebody, a close friend, or classmate or whatever. So I guess that these individuals just have a hard time trying to deal with that. But I can imagine, if I was in a situation like that, I'm sure that'd be with me for the rest of my life, although I know I would be trying to kill myself behind it.
Well, I think you're referring to the Florida shootings, where over a year later, people are still committing suicide because of what happened there. We think because of what happened there.
And then that parent and Sandy Hooks here started some type of foundation and stuff like that. Traveling the country around the U.S. and stuff, and he killed himself. I think it was sometime last year. That is good.
Yeah, again, guys, I think it's a learning thing that's going on. And correct me if you think I'm wrong, but we're learning how to handle stress by what other people are doing. I worked with a kid who came to me because he was depressed and he had been suicidal. He had been in a hospital, been discharged, and his family, requested that I see him. And one of the things he told me, which was very striking, he went to a really nice school in a very, very nice area of town. All the parents had money. Kids took Ubers if they didn't have a driver's license, that kind of thing. They had their own credit cards. And he said that, and the pressure, of course, was really strong there to make really good grades and to excel. And he said that kids would come to school and say on a regular basis, oh, I'm so stressed out, I'm just going to kill myself. And he said, Miss Terry, I don't know now when they're serious and when they're not serious. We had a kid over in Sugar Land, not too far from where I live, who killed himself. And I actually was working with someone who knew that person. And what they told me, and the parent, I knew the parent. And so what they told me, I heard it from two different places, from a child and from a parent from another situation. And they said, this kid was always depressed and always going to school telling people about what his family was doing to him, making him sleep in the garage, not letting him eat, things like that. And he would go to school and he would talk about this. No one did anything. And I'm sure he wasn't talking to adults. I don't know. But the kids, he was talking to the kids, his friends, his peers. The peers were going home and talking to their parents. And yet, no one did anything to try to check on this child. I don't know what has changed in our society that we are no longer a village. Right? That's what I feel. Like we are no longer a village that hold people accountable for their actions and that try to correct people's actions. We were on the bus or the train in LA when that lady came on with her phone and she was talking loud and she's cussing and loud and I said, hey. She looked at me and I just smiled, because I didn't want to get shot, but I smiled. And she just looked at me. She went, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and she smiled back. But no one else was saying, "You're offending me with that profanity. This is my granddaughter who's 13. You're offending us with this profanity, talking like I don't want to hear your business." But we don't have that, and maybe it's because we are scared, right?
Mm-hmm.
I tend not to be scared. I tend to jump in first and then realize that I might need to be scared, right? But I just felt like she needed to know that, yeah, we don't want to hear all that. But I don't think we have that village mentality anymore. I think you're agreeing.
Because you get people that burn the village.
People that burn the village, she said. Yeah.
And you were trying to save the village. This is, the woman over there said, there's a lot of mental illness going around. And we don't know who has mental illness.
No.
It's not like you wear it on your forehead. You don't know who is bipolar. You don't know who's not on their medication. You don't know any of that. So it does give you a sense of it's better for me not to say anything and hurry up and get out of here than to say something and possibly get a gun pulled out on you, knife pulled out on you. You don't know, and so it's very frightening, especially if you're not in an area that you're familiar with.
But the thing that I find more disturbing is that when people see crazy stuff going on, they don't say anything, but they will record it.
Yes.
You see videos of everything.
Right.
Everything.
People going off the buses or trains or cursing out at the store, and people feel the need, like, instead of calling somebody or intervening, they'll just pull out
They pull out their phone.
Like that girl in Austin who was getting beat up in a parking lot by some guy a couple months ago. Nobody ran over and like said, "Hey, stop," because they were like, "Well, what if he had a gun?" But I'm like, but it was okay for him to keep punching the girl while, and people were recording that. Like,
Right.
And I guess people think like, "Oh, well, the police will take care of it after we send the video out," but people don't really intervene anymore.
Right.
They'll record and then they'll show later on, and then they'll expect something to happen. But like when it's going on, you never see anybody like jump up and like, "Hey, stop this! Or don't do that."
I don't even think they're recording so that they can give it to the police later. I think they're recording because it's all
That's
about
the thing, yeah.
them. You know,
'Cause even at
I'm
school
going to
now-
post this on my social media
Correct.
site, and I'm going to get all these people to like my page and to like what I'm posting, and it's all about me. And I could be, y'all are shaking your
It's
head.
the presence of mind. Like I work at a high school, and a lot of people work in school. Like I'll see like a fight will break out in school, and everybody's first impulse is to pull their phone out and start
Right.
recording. And I was like, I would never even think of that in a moment. If something was going on, if I was like something was dramatic happening, I would be thinking like, oh, let me record that. Or I see it now. Somebody will get in a car accident. You'll see somebody will have their phone out the whole time while they're talking to the people who hit their car. And I'm like, just the idea that people think their first response is not to call anybody with your phone, it's to record with your phone.
I'll say one other thing before I go on. I was at a school, a junior high, middle school, junior high, not too long ago, and I actually was kind of hiding in the corner observing my client to see how she was interacting with her peers, right? And it was very, very interesting. She did see me at some point, but across the way, all of a sudden a commotion broke out. And two people were fighting, two boys. And they are wailing on each other. I mean, with all their might. And the teachers, because it was the cafeteria, they kind of circled around and stood there.
Yes, ma'am.
And I was in total shock. I've never seen that in my life. And so after they finally stopped because they got tired. I mean, literally, I think they just got tired. And so then after they stopped, two assistant principals or whatever took them away and did whatever, I don't know. But it was interesting to watch the other kids after that because they started being more verbal with each other, more verbal aggressive with each other right after that occurred. I love observing people's behaviors. It's so phenomenal to me. But I don't even know that the school realized it. So I went to somebody and I said, what just happened? Why didn't you guys intervene? And he said, we can't. We no longer can intervene. We no longer can separate them. We have to let them stop on their own.
That does not make sense.
At school?
This is at a school in one of our school districts. I won't name the school district because I go all over Houston. But that is what occurred.
And if someone is seriously injured, who's liable?
That's right.
I have no idea. Thank heavens I don't have children in that school district. Yes.
So I will say, I had a teacher this was back in the 90s, who tried to intervene in a school fight, was pushed and suffered with chronic back pain for the rest of her life, based on that. So there is some safety in regards to the teachers when something like that happens.
But wouldn't you call, if there was a serious fight going on?
There's police on campus.
Police on campus, police or something.
Yes.
I agree.
Would they need to physically get involved? I mean, it's liability wise, if the police step in and one of the kids gets hurt, who's at fault then?
But I still, no matter what, I cannot imagine that it would be ethically right to watch somebody be injured and not at least call somebody. Obviously, I understand intervening if someone's being beaten up on the street, that is scary. But I wouldn't be videoing it, I would be calling the police.
But
That's the thing, but most of the kids say people are just videoing stuff. Like I've seen fights break out in my school, and like within like 20 minutes when the next bell rings, my office team will be watching it online.
Wow, that's fast.
It
But
goes that
teachers
fast.
don't have phones.
Yeah.
They don't have phones on them. They may
They have
have
walkie-talkies?
They
Yeah,
may.
the
They
social
may
distancing,
have
yeah.
one. But most of the time, your APs have those walkie-talkies. Maybe some office workers have those walkie-talkies, but teachers don't have. Teachers don't have those walkie-talkies.
And a lot of it, like,
So how do you
injury,
call?
or like a lot of people feel now, like if I go in the break of a fight and a kid hits me, and just out of reflex, I hit that kid back. It's like a bigger
I'm
issue.
fired.
So a lot of people are just like, it's not worth
That's the other
it.
issue.
Yeah, it's not worth it for me to break this fight up. Like, let somebody else, let the administrator or somebody or the police handle that. 'Cause, you know,
And
the police
guys, I'm sorry,
fight
what
back.
I hear and what I completely understand is that our system is broken,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I have a cousin who's a teacher. She was teaching over on the northeast side of town. She came from a small town of Beaumont, where we're from. She wanted to work with inner city kids. She was having panic attacks by October because the school did not support her or anyone else on campus. If a kid wanted to just walk out and do whatever they wanted to do and cuss them out, and there was no consequences for the kids. This was a school that had a very high dropout rate. Teachers were leaving left and right. It was pretty traumatic for her. I mean, she had not experienced anything like that, and we had to really, phone calls at 6 o'clock in the morning is what I was getting to help her get to her day, right? Because she had to get through her day. I mean, she didn't have no choice. I mean, she had to get through that year and then move, and that's what she did. But it was a system problem. I mentioned earlier about this tipping point, and one of the things he talked about was something that happened, I think, over in New York, where there was a lot of crime occurring on trains and subways and things like that, and a guy actually, somebody came up and told him, hey, give me your watch or whatever, and the guy pulled out a gun and shot him. And then, told everybody else, hey, you're okay. He felt like he was protecting everybody and protecting himself. And so it tipped. That was the event that tipped. And so what they did was they did something as simple as go into the train stations, the subways, and clean the graffiti. Because before there was a ton of graffiti. And everybody felt they could do whatever they wanted to do on the trains, on the subway. The other thing they did was they implemented a better system to make sure people actually paid to get on the subway. Because before they were not paying, they were just getting on. And so those two things changed it into a positive direction, okay? It was something very small. I mean, you might think that's not big, but it was very big for them to change the culture of the environment, right? Think about, you don't want to go into a certain environment with certain things all over the wall and graffiti and this going on and that going on. You're going to feel unsafe as soon as you go into that subdivision, won't you? Compared to if you go somewhere else and there's dogs walking at 10 o'clock at night and, you feel safe, right? It's the same thing. So we have to figure out, and I don't know what the answer is. That's why we're in this room together, because I want to get you guys to thinking, right? Because I think the answers have to come from us, to be quite honest, because we understand mental health. So let me go on. All right, profile of a mass shooter, right? So, motivated by revenge or envy, high feelings of rejection. There are risk factors tied to the crime. We've heard of incidents where someone's foster mom died who really took care of them and was there for them all this time, and now they're gone, and now they have no one, right? And then within 6 months, they're having some kind of behavior. A history of abuse or ineffective parenting. Guys, I'm going to focus on that a little bit. We are in a time when parenting is going by the wayside. Yeah, you guys agree. Parents are not raising their children anymore. And there was a time when the parents were doing a great job, as good as they could. You know, not every parent is great. We probably have parents that weren't great, but they did the best they could, right? And then we had a school where the kids were being there for 8 hours, and the teachers did the best that they could for those kids. And so we had a village going on. Now, they're not getting it at school, and they're not getting it at home. What's happening is social media is raising our children. They're learning moral values from social media and video games. This is another thing, and I'm going to talk about that more in a little bit. But video games are significant when it comes to shootings. But kids are not being raised. I was in Cabo in May, and I was by myself. I'd been enjoying the beach scene all day long. I went out to dinner, and this family walks in, and they sit down, and immediately I hear them because the little girl starts screaming. And she's around 2.5, not even 3. And she has this device in her hand, maybe a tablet or something, I don't know. And she's screaming and yelling, and she's doing this, I don't know what's going on, and she's doing this, and someone said it's probably because the internet went dead as soon as she walked into the restaurant, right? So she couldn't access whatever she was watching. And they just let her cry for a while, and it was her, she was sitting here, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather. And I wanted to say she's addicted to the devices, right? Mm-hmm. But I looked, and guess what? They were all on their devices. All of them. And grandfather does this with grandma one time. Never said a word. We're going to post a picture that we're having a great time, but we're not even talking to each other. And I was at dinner. This was the beginning of my dinner, so I was there at least a good 45 minutes with this family next to me. They finally got her quiet. The grandmother finally took her out and then brought her back in. I didn't say anything. I held my tongue. But I saw them in the elevator the next morning. And I said, "Oh, how are you feeling today? Are you better? I think you're addicted to devices, to electronics. Are you addicted to electronics?" And they just... Who was I giving the message to? Not to her. Right? Kids are not being raised. Go upstairs, go in the corner, go over here and watch the cell phone, watch the YouTube station, watch the whatever it may be. So we don't have good parenting anymore. We just don't. And we have kids coming into CPS custody, and we send the parents to parenting classes. Anybody here lead any parenting classes? No, no one does? They go to these parenting classes, and they have to complete 8 weeks, and then, oh, here's your certificate, you completed 8 weeks. They're not good parents. They still didn't learn nothing, right? So, it's, yes.
Those parenting classes, I used to do those.
Okay.
They're mandated by the courts.
Yes.
They walk in there, they sign a paper, and then the teacher throws on a video. It's a racket.
Are you serious? They don't actually like interact and engage.
That's out some handouts to throw on a it's a racket.
Yeah, I've heard some foster parents tell me that it was just a video.
Same as domestic violence, a lot of that.
Yeah, it's just
Looks like
videos.
Mandated court classes.
Looks like defensive driving. You just watch a video.
Yeah.
I actually have to watch that video, so don't talk about it.
You'll be a safer driver after.
Every time I say, I'm not coming back to this class. I've actually gotten a lot better. So, I wasn't aware of that because I've had to do some parenting classes with people. Maybe I've been working with the kids, so they asked me to do the parenting classes. And I actually have a curriculum, and I actually interact with them and engage and give homework assignments, but I guess I'm different. So
I bet you had a few people who didn't like that though.
actually they did.
But you probably had a few.
It wasn't a group though. It was just like one set of parents, you know. So it's never. I've never done it in a group setting.
Yeah.
You know.
A lot of these required. If you're talking about the systems broke and what can we do, there are a lot of efforts being made out there of people going to these required classes. I've done trainings on workplace violence.
Yes.
But people just feel like you're hassling them. You know, it's really, and that's why there's not that many good teachers anymore, because the teachers are expected to be parents, therapists, doctors, boxing,
referees.
referees, you know. I mean, I've worked with teachers for 20 years. It's extremely stressful. So why would anybody want to do that? And the pay is going down?
Yep.
You know, so I mean, I'm not trying to be too negative here, but I'm just letting you know there's a lot of efforts out there, but it's very hard to tell people what to do. I worked with kids for the first 10 years of my career, and I stopped doing it because of the parents.
Well, and that's why we started Gateway to Counseling. We started Gateway to Counseling because we've worked with children. I worked with children for over 25 years. Project Kids has been in existence for 19 years. And when you work with a kid in an RTC and you are able to get them to successfully discharge, you're so excited. I mean, they're successful. And then 6 months later, they're back. And they say to you, I've changed, but my family didn't change. You know? And you hear this over and over and over. And so that was one of the reasons why we started Gateway to Counseling. We want to work with more adults. We want to make it easy and convenient for them, you know? Because I do believe that we have to address the adults. We have to. We have to do something about that. So, some connection to media violence, of course. Let me talk a little bit more about the video games. I am a firm believer that video games is rewiring our children's brains. That's just my belief. I think that they are getting addicted to the constant stimulus and the constant drama, and it's becoming an addiction. I believe that. And they're playing these shoot-up games, right? Shoot 'em up, and they're killing people on the screen, and they have no idea that it hurts. My nephew went to do paintball fight with some friends just a few weeks ago, and he came back and he said, Auntie, man, that thing hurt. I wanted to cry. I wanted to stop. I said, imagine what a real bullet feels like. It hurts. They have no clue. All they know is take a gun, aim, shoot, fire. They're dead. Not, it actually hurts if I get hit. It hurts if they get hit. So I believe that the games and all of those electronics are just causing the kids to be addicted to a constant stimuli, constant drama. You guys might have experienced this either in your therapy sessions or with working with people or even with yourself. When you grow up in a chaotic home, what are you used to? Chaos, right? If you grow up in a home where your mom and dad are constantly fighting, what are you growing up with? You're learning how to handle conflict. And you're used to this drama all the time. You're used to the yelling and the screaming, and they are interacting with one another and reliving those same things all the time. And that's why we're having a lot of this. All right, so fire setting behaviors, we all know that's a big trigger, right? The fire setting. If somebody has fire setting, that's usually danger. Hurt animals, antisocial, right? Self-centered, lack of compassion. Guys, I don't know what's going on, but they don't have compassion for one another at all. Yes?
I think that kind of ties back into the video game setting, where I think it creates a lack of empathy with the child, because they're exhibiting these behaviors on a video screen. They don't see anybody getting hurt. So they think it doesn't matter.
Right.
We live in a society today where words don't matter anymore, and that's sad.
It is.
The kids don't understand that what comes out of their mouth and what they hear, and people who are around them, what they hear, makes a huge difference in that child's ability to feel empathy and compassion for another individual.
I'm going to go off topic just a little bit. What about our kids who are committing sex offenses? We're having more and more girls commit offenses, right? We have one girl who is 10, 11, sexually abused her brother and sister, age 4 and 5. She tricked them. Yeah, that's the word she used. Tricked them, right? I have a adolescent boy who sexually abused his 6-year-old stepsister and was convinced, is still to this day convinced. I've been treating this kid for over 6 months, and he is still convinced that she wanted it too at the age of 6, and she was an active participant. When he first told me that, I had to call the family and say, how old was she again? Because he made it sound like they were the same age. And I bring this up because of the word empathy and compassion. Because I've been working with that kid for all these months, and there is no compassion at all. I wanted to discharge him, but Mom works in the medical field, and so she knew I needed to stay on case, so I have to stay on case. But, you know, and I have to confront the parents and say, these are the things I need you to do to help build empathy and compassion. And are they doing it? No, they're not following treatment. It's very frustrating, right? Because if you don't have compassion for another person, how are you going to then control your behaviors? You're not going to church, right? You're not even getting prayer time in school anymore like we used to. All that's been gone and taken away. We're just living in a different time. They have anger and paranoid delusions. They think someone is out to get them. They think someone is out to hurt them. You know, someone is always trying to get me. I was a victim back when I was physically abused by my dad, and now they're looking at me crazy, and so I'm going to do this. And guys, here's the other thing. We excuse behaviors. We excuse behaviors. We say, oh, well, you know they went through this. And oh, you know they were abused. And oh, you know you're triggering them. No, I'm not. I'm not triggering them. That's a word that they use now, they throw around. I'm not triggering. I'm sorry, I'm getting like really emotional. But it frustrates me, right? Because we don't hold them accountable for their actions. And then we're surprised when they're 19, 20, 25 years old and they're committing mass shootings. This is a profile of a mass shooter. Yes?
Yeah, I don't mean to question what you're saying, but I'm curious, like, so how would you differentiate that from like somebody who's actually been traumatized and been abused? And I understand what you're saying about the triggering and all the different rationalizations people have for their behavior, but, you know, a lot of these kids, you hear their story, and then you see the family, and sometimes they may be part of a blended family where they were abused and now they're living with a different set of parents, and so they're kind of like second-class kids in their own home. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I have empathy for that, but again, I also agree with what you're saying, like, we have to be careful, and it doesn't justify hurting other people. So I'm just kind of curious, like, how you think that through with kids, if you don't mind me asking.
I believe that with kids, it's very difficult under the age of 18 because they're stuck in a situation that they usually can't get out of. However, I will give you a small story of a kid that I work with who had been sexually abused. She actually started running away. She got into custody and was actually given treatment and was doing very well in treatment. But then when she got out of the locked facility, she started running again. And what she would do is she would always find an older man. And she would present herself as older. And she would offer sex to this person. And then when they did engage in the activity, then she would call rape. And it happened at least 3 times. And after the second time, I said, you're responsible for this one. Now, as a therapist, we're not told to say that to a kid. But she completely set it up. She left home or where she was. She went walking down the street. She saw a person. She went up to this person, engaged with this person, got on the bus with this person, went to their house. The father walked in, so they stopped. They walked out, caught another bus, went to a hotel, checked in under her name.
She's making decisions.
Yeah.
And then after it happened, she went outside, went to the guy at the hotel reception desk and said, please call the police, I was raped. At some point, I have to hold her responsible. Yes.
Did she ever say why?
We worked on that.
But that's what I'm asking, was it something?
Because we have been,
how
we,
the
right.
serial killers, they do stuff for a reason. That's what she's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get to,
So we have to peel it back, uncover it, figure out
you know,
why is she doing that. And a lot of it had to do with, she really wanted her father, and she wanted a male figure. She didn't know how to interact with males except through a sexual way. But this girl I treated 3 different times through this facility because she came 3 different times. And I had to then hold her accountable again because we've been through this. We've talked about this. You know, this is a girl who said, you know, it's my mom's fault because she would have sex in front of me. She did? No, she would peek through the hole to watch her mom.
but do you work with I guess she has to learn how to cope with her negative thoughts in her past, right?
But here's the problem. Go ahead.
How do you go about getting someone to understand, okay, I have empathy and compassion for what you've been through, but how do you get them to understand, learn to cope with it when these thoughts come up so you won't do something negative?
I'm a different kind of therapist, and I'm very real with my kids. After I've gone through and established a lot of rapport, and they know that I love them, I care about them, I want what's best for them, I also let them know I can't do it for you, and you have to make these decisions. I'm going to give you all the tools you need. I like to think about it as a toolbox, and I'm putting all the tools you need in there to have a successful life. But it's up to you to take the tools out. You know that they're there. And sometimes what I see with some kids is that it's more of gratification and attention-seeking, right, attention-seeking behaviors. I see you shaking your head.
I suggested that earlier.
Uh-huh. Because I'm going to get more attention from this negative behavior than I am from doing what's right. So, all right. So we have feeling powerless, low self-esteem, we all know that, and other triggering events, okay? So something can happen that pushes that person over the edge, right? It could be anything, but it can happen that pushes that person over the edge. We can't predict, guys, who's going to kill. It's like you were saying. I mean, this person over here could be sexually abused. This person over here could be sexually abused. This person over here could be sexual abuse even worse. But they're wired different, right? We're all are wired different. And so how we handle trauma in our life is going to be different. I know that I'm the oldest in my family. I have 2 younger brothers. The way we handle situations is completely different, even though we grew up in the same home, right? And I know you guys know that. Most people with mental illnesses are not violent. And we have to know that. It's not just a mental illness. Not everyone who is mentally ill is going to commit such an act, right? Are you a murderer? Thou shalt not kill. Robert Morris is someone that I really enjoy from Gateway Church over in Dallas. And, you know, he talks about this whole idea of thou shalt not kill. And basically, guys, it's along the lines of having a foundation, okay? having a foundation of how we interact with each other. Maybe I'm not killing you. Terry Azus is not a killer. I know I'm not a killer. I'm a lover, right? So I'm not going to kill, but maybe I'm killing you with my words. Maybe I'm bringing you down and talking about you, and I'm talking about you behind your back, and I'm criticizing you in your face, and I'm killing you. I'm killing who you are. I'm killing your self-esteem, right? So we have to watch the words that we use, and we have to just be an example, guys, of in the area that we are in. Maybe we can't make mass changes across the whole system, but we can start in the environment that we're in. We have to be conscious of how much we're addicted to our phones. We have to be conscious. I turn my phone off at 6 o'clock in the evening. I don't take phone calls on Sundays. You know, people when they text me, they go, I know you're busy. Yep. Right? I have a friend who's also a therapist. She is constantly called to court. Constantly. Because she's constantly available. We're on vacation. She's available. She's sitting on the beach in Miami. She's available. No. We're on vacation, right? So we have to be examples. If we as therapists can't be examples, then who can? Okay? We all have the potential, and let's remember that words kill too. So murder is preceded by violence. Okay? So typically this person is going to be violent in some other areas too. Okay? Violence is preceded by hate. We have a ton of hate going on in the United States right now. I've never seen it so bad. Did you guys see? I did see that news report of a 18, 17-year-old boy that was at the store listening to some rap music or something, and a guy walked up behind him and split his throat from behind because he was offended by the rap music and he thought that he was in danger.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the violence. He had hate already in his heart, didn't he?
Yes.
You gotta have hate to go and split someone's throat from behind that you've never met in your life. All because they're playing rap music. Just tell them to turn it off like I did, right? Hate is preceded by an offense. I don't know. Maybe that particular guy had been offended by someone at some part in time that he felt helpless before. He has been offended in some way. I don't know how. Maybe his sister was offended in some way. Maybe his mother was offended in some way. Who knows what was going on in his life, but it was something that came from an offense. And then in the offense is preceded by expectations. We have so many expectations of other people and of ourselves. And the biggest expectation is we expect them to be like us. And I can be guilty of that, right? I can be guilty of that with my family. I expect them to be like me. And they're not. So then I have to love them anyway. Right? Because I'm perfect. They should be perfect like me. All right. Forgiveness and grace allows you to not walk down the road to murder. I don't know if we talk enough about forgiveness. I don't know if we talk enough about grace. I don't even know if when you're in church and they talk about forgiveness, that they really tell you the steps of how to forgive. But we as therapists, we know the steps to forgiveness, don't we? And we know it starts small, but we have to teach kids to forgive. I love to work with children, and I love to say, okay, tell me your story of abuse. And they tell me all this, and it goes on for weeks maybe. And then we start to kind of recontextualize that event, right? Well, mom wasn't there for you. I understand that. That must have really hurt. What was mom doing? Oh, she was at work. Oh, why was she working so many hours? Because dad wasn't there, so mom had to work so that we have food on the table. And then they start to walk down the steps themselves, don't they? Mom had to work, right? So mom wasn't able to go to your ballet and your this and your that, but mom was working and providing for you. Okay? So we have to teach them the steps of forgiveness. So what can you do? Talk to yourself like someone you love. I like that, right? So talk to yourself like someone you love, and that's what we have to teach these kids and adults. We have to teach them how to love themselves because they don't know. You ever wonder why a person ends up in a bad relationship? Because they don't know what love is. Someone says, I love you. Oh, that's love. Forget what they're doing to you, knocking you around, cheating on you, doing whatever, right? But they say, I love you, so we're going to believe them. Do we even know what love is? I teach my adolescent girls what love is. I have to teach them that. Because otherwise they're going to end up in really bad relationships. Okay? What can I do? It starts at birth. We have to have healthy relationships. We have to have good parenting. We have to teach good parenting. When people come into your room, into your office to get therapy, we have to lay these foundations. We have to. And we don't want to spend all of our time on the past. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to relive the past. We want to focus on the present and the future. But we understand that we got to talk about some stuff that happened in the past to understand how we got to this present and how we're going to get to a better future. Right? So it does take a village. Encourage people to get help for mental problems and daily stress. I think that is major. We think the only people that can go and get counseling services are those who have a serious mental illness. It didn't get serious until it piled up into something daily. We need to work as a community to say to people, when you're stressed at work, get some help. Talk to somebody. When you're stressed at home, get some help. You know, I hate to say this, and I'm almost done, but at Gateway to Counseling, we set it up that a person doesn't have to be in our program 10 weeks, 9 weeks, 3 months. They can come to us for one time. We have a lady who comes to us about every 2 months, just for a little checkup. That's fine with us. We don't have to have something ongoing all the time. She knows what she needs when she needs it. Decrease children's time on video games and violent media. Increase self-esteem. Affirmations, we all know those. Be positive. Highlight their strengths, your strengths. Listen. Listen. I know we are trained as therapists. We know how to listen, but let's train others how to listen too, right? Encourage, spend time. Engage in fun activities. Teach them to engage in fun activities. Instead of watching, video games and things like that, why don't you go outside and play water balloon fights, right? We do that. We play water balloon fights and have water guns, and we just sit outside for 3-4 hours, even in the summertime, okay? Take time for yourself. That's important. Smile. Give to others. Why is that important, giving to others? Anybody know what that does for your psyche when you give to someone else?
That's good.
Say that again.
I said it makes you feel good.
It makes you feel good, right? And what goes around comes around. I believe in karma. Know your spiritual beliefs. Accept yourself and others as they are, where they are. I think that's important. Not everybody is where you want them to be, but accept them where they are. They will get there. It will take time, but they'll get there. Forgive, be kind. Know your mission in life and walk the path daily. Who here has a mission in life? No one? 2 people? 3, 4, 5. Wow, that's it? Okay, can somebody share what their mission is for me? Who raised your hands? You raised your hand. What's your mission? You? Did you raise your hand?
My mission is and has always been to help others. And people that know me know that I've done that. I always try to help other people, and that's what makes me feel.
Okay. All right. Good. I said at the beginning, our mission at Gateway is to bring peace, joy, love, and light into the lives of millions with affordable online counseling anywhere, anytime. Enter our gates to a brighter tomorrow where you are in control. Peace is important in life, right? If we have peace, we can do all things. Joy. I didn't say happiness. When my social media person first started working for me, she wanted to say, we're going to make you happy. No, we're not making them happy. We're bringing them joy. Because joy is above happiness. It's above circumstances. Love. I'm not worried about people getting in love with each other. I'm not worried about them having a significant other. Learn to love yourself first. And then after you learn to love yourself, then love will come to you, right? In whatever shape or form. And then light. Light to me, guys, is spirituality. Light to me is God. Okay? And I believe that that's important in everyone's life. And practice mindfulness. That's a big thing now. I am. So this says all the things. My heart's desire, the courage I seek, the love I seek, fully alive, safe from harm. So I am not how I feel. I am not how I feel. What I feel right now is going to pass in about 30 minutes anyway. If I can just get through the next 30 minutes, it's going to pass how I feel. And then that's it. All right, so I think I did pretty good on timing. Do we have any questions? Y'all ready to go back to work? All right. I want to thank you guys so much for having me out here today. You guys were wonderful. I love the interaction. That's how I am. That's how I like to present. I love to interact. My name again is Terry Azus. If you guys ever need a free speaker for anywhere, church events, I just did a fashion show a couple of weeks ago where they were focused on mental health. And so if you guys ever need a free speaker, just let me know. Send me an email, send me a call, and we can get it on the schedule, okay?
Let's give Terry a big round of applause.